it definitely looked that way, and I think I guess moving forward into the show on the stuff that we have prepared, you guys saw we do have a driver joining us today, and I think his story is one of the coolest ones that I also saw from home. Seeing his progression's been really cool. Seeing how he got it done this weekend was also super cool. So without further ado, wasting no time here, let's welcome on the show, Mr. Jared Clarke. First of all, congratulations on a weekend for you. I know I missed it, but watching it from home, I definitely felt the emotion that you did. Just walk me through, I guess, what the past 2 days have been like for you, Jared, and how you're feeling. Has it sunk in yet that you're a national race winner?
I mean, not really. It's a pretty cool feeling, for something like that to happen to me, and for how long we've been doing this, it's finally happened, and it's just it's just taken so long, which I mean, I feel like with every driver, it takes a little bit to get something like this, but it feels really good, and the past few days has been really good for me. I've been getting a little bit more recognition than usual, a few more follows on social media than usual. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy with everything, and thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess looking at it all, I want to take you back to that moment as well. We have the clip here ready, so without further ado, let's play that here, boys.
Today has been what a performance this weekend has been for Brandon Jared Racing. A much needed pick me up. The heartbreak in OKN for Paulie Massimino. The close call for James Overbeck. But in KA Stars, it's been dominated by one young man. It's his first career national win. Jared Clarke wins in Charlotte. The race. First, though, we want to go down to the scales. Check out the emotion. This is what it means.
Jared, we heard the emotions there on the camera. Now we have a mic in front of you. Kind of just describe to me what this feels like right now.
I mean, it's unreal for me. I mean, to be able to sweep the weekend like that. I mean, it's just there's no other feeling like it. I mean, we've just been trying so hard for something like this. It's really rewarding.
Yeah, and I mean, you get to do it with a really cool crowd, great people around you, great drivers around you. You got a battle with a driver that's world class, Oliver Hodgson. Kind of walk me through that battle and how you got to the front.
I don't know. It just the whole race, like battling with him. Not the whole race, but kind of like the first half. He's a really good driver. He's tough to beat, but I just kind of tried to keep my cool and did what I could to get around him, and it ended up working in my best favor. So, I mean, I'm glad I just got to get away and wow.
Got a pretty cool crowd here watching on. I had cheers that in quite a time. Describe to me what it feels like and what it means to have people like this, and who you want to thank for this one.
I want to thank, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I mean, I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't be able to do anything without him, thinking about him and praying to him every day. And, Brandon Jared Racing, I mean, I wouldn't be able to be here anywhere where I'm at without the help with their entire team. Every single person in that tent has helped me through this entire journey. And, BBS, I wouldn't be able to do it without them, especially with this engine. Helped me out a lot. But just everybody that, helped me and supported me through this whole journey, I thank every single one of you. Even if you don't like me, but, I try my best to do my best, and I thank every single one of you for that.
Congrats, Jared.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Definitely, for me watching as a fan this weekend, it's hard not to get choked up listening to that, seeing the hard work that's gone into it. But I wanna hear your story. How you kind of got started into it. We did a deep dive through your Instagram, which we're gonna go through later. We're gonna have you explain some of that. But how did you start karting? How did you start racing? And how did you get to where you were this past weekend?
Um, so basically, ever since I started, I was born. I've always really liked cars and everything about it, and I've always kind of wanted to race. And my dad found this place. We lived in Virginia at the time, and we found this indoor karting league, and I just loved it so much, and I just started doing it. I ended up like getting like third in the championship or something, and there was a person that did that league, and he kind of told us about how there was more to it than kind of just the indoor stuff, and how there's like the outdoor and like you could have your own car and all that stuff, and it was pretty cool, and we just kind of looked into it, found like whatever cart we could find on the internet, and you know we bought it. It showed up at one of my friend's house. Like we brought it over there, and we literally spent all night working on it. And I went to my first race. Well, not really my first race. It was kind of a race, kind of just like a see what this cart can do, and if I like it, And we went there, and I sucked like really bad, and I just liked it so much, and he was already kind of out of it, but I just liked it so much, and I just remember this one time, and every single time I'd go out on track, especially when I first started, I would just kept spinning out, or like the chain would pop or something like that, and it it really sucked that day. But I remember one time I came back after getting towed back to the pits like this one last time, and he's like, if you don't make it farther than turn one this time, it's over, man. So I really try my best. I didn't spin out that time, I got a few laps in, and you know I'll suck in the beginning. You're not going to be the best ever, and I had a true love for it, and I loved it so much, and I want to do more. So I mean, we just kept doing all the races that we heard of, and actually one of my first races was in Charlotte. Actually, it was before the kart track was even built. It was
It was
it
like
was
the
when
the hybrid one, right?
yeah, it was when WKA did the
It was like
kind
the
of like the
Roval.
Roval. Yeah, but they did it like somewhat backwards for the kart race, and I remember I got in the final I got lapped on like lap 6. So uh but yeah, I mean that's kind of how I started, and we just kind of picked up from there on. There's a lot more to it, but kind of that's just how I started, and you know that's pretty much in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning too, you ran a lot of 206 stuff. I know you did a little bit of Swift here and there, like in I guess it would have been 2019, 2020, but for the most part, you kind of stuck around doing 206. And I guess like growing up and sort of getting into it at the local level, I mean, where do you feel like it really started to click for you? First on the 4 cycle side, as you kind of moved through cadet and eventually got into junior and started doing really well.
Um, it's kind of hard to explain, like especially with the 206 side of things. You don't, which how good like 206 racing is. It's sad that you don't get as much recognition or like anything like that compared to the 2 cycle side of racing, and the racing is just so different, and it requires such a different, I wouldn't say better or worse skill level. It's just different, and different people, different, carts winning, different everything. And like to start, I just it was the cheapest. It was the cheapest option. We went to Swift after a little while, but I mean, Swift was pretty expensive then too. So we did what we could, but we ran everything 206 that we could, and I could do you know whatever I could to race, and if 206 was the cheapest, we were gonna do that, and we were gonna like do the best we could. But yeah, like until around 2020 or the end of 2019 when I tried my first Swift cart. I mean, I was all right in it, but I just feel like I never got anything in kind of the Swift category or anything like that, because I don't know, the equipment that I had wasn't it was all right. It wasn't anything special, but just on the 206 side of things, it it was good for me, and that's really what I started getting good at from then on. But yeah, the 206, I just felt like I was the best in that, and that's what we did the most of because I was better than 2 cycle in that.
Yeah, and I mean, you went through that. You went all the way through 206 cadet into 206 junior. You had a couple really good years in 206 junior that I can remember. And then 2023 comes along. You start the season out, you run 206, and then I think it would have been the third race of the club season, last minute deal, throw together a KA. Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised you even know about that. Uh,
Hey,
that was
Emery knows it all. Emery knows it all.
I mean, I don't think Emery doesn't know, like, there's literally everything. He knows everything. So that was a whole deal of we were just there to race for in 206. We were just there for like another club race. We were just thinking something normal, and my dad, I think it was a double header weekend actually. And we got there halfway through the day because for a double header for the club races, 206 junior was on a different day than KA junior. So we got there on Saturday and we were just kind of there to hang out. And I remember Joey Mooneyham. We always hang out with him, and I miss him a lot, but
Me
sad
too.
that he got out of it. But he was kind of like the guy for, I guess, TKG, that was kind of running for like kind of mechanicking for Hayden Jones when he would run the club races there in 2023, and he had this cart, and my dad got like he offered him a good deal to just like slap me in it for some reason. And he's like, "Why not? I mean, I've never driven it before, but he was like, "Hey, I was talking to one of my friends on the grid or something. I was just chilling. Absolutely nothing expected at all. I just get a call from my dad, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to run this KA? You want to try it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I mean, they just get it already. It was pretty cheap, and he got me out there for a pre-final. My first session out ever on a KR and a KA junior ever was in a pre-final. That race, that pre-final only. I mean, I learned so much in that pre-final. I don't think I've ever like tried to shove so much through my brain on grid that like ever in my life. I had people all around me tell me what to do. It was just like, oh my gosh. So I just went out there, and I remember on the out lap, I tried warming up the tires and I locked it up. I spun it out and near put it in the wall in turn 4. And so just that whole race, that whole pre-final, I was just trying to, get it down. And I remember I tried passing. I tried passing I tried passing Ben, and Ben Gaunt.
Yeah.
I tried passing him and I locked it up and spun it again. And I flooded the engine, and we come out of turn 8 and it's just like it's just not going. And in turn 9 it just shuts off, and I'm getting lapped by the leaders already. And I just start racing with like 5th place, just trying to learn it. And so that is that. I get last, I'm lapped or whatever. But then in the final for first, I mean, I learned a lot in that pre-final, and I started kind of hanging in that pre-final with the guy in 5th or whatever. So I went out for that final and last again, and I made up a lot of spots, and I think I got like 12th or something. There was a good bit of KA juniors back then in 2023, so I made up good spots, and it kind of showed my dad what I could really do in a KA, and maybe we should start doing it. And it really just, I feel like it kind of set off in his mind that maybe we should really start getting into this. But I mean, he had already known that I'd always wanted to do it, but I just, the financial wasn't there, and we just never really came across like a good deal of like a starter like KA or anything like that. So I mean, it took a little bit to get my first like Tony Kart, and you know it was just on from there. I just, after that final, we just, I wanted to do it so bad. Like I liked it. I wouldn't say I liked it more than 206, but I definitely the speed. It was just a click. I loved it so much. I wanted to do it more.
Yeah, and it's still less than 2 years from that race, I believe. So
Yeah.
that for anyone out there listening to this, that kind of puts into perspective. And again, this is not comparing like anyone because ultimately, like everyone's on their own journey. Everyone has kind of different learning curves. But for reference, James Overbeck, we had him on the show after his win at MCC last year, and his path. Both of you guys have a lot of 206 experience, a lot of kind of like running through the junior categories and senior categories in 206. But for him, it was kind of more of like a sort of long, drawn out path of kind of getting more and more competitive with the 2 cycle. And obviously, James has really kind of turned it on the last 2 to 3 years, and he's always been great in the 206. But for you, it was like you show up one weekend, pre-final, you're spinning out, you're a lap down. Finals, pretty good. You come back, and by the end of the summer, you're already like running in the front of the K. I mean, what do you think allowed you to learn so quickly?
I mean, I just feel like, especially, I just wanted it so bad. I wanted to be good at it so bad. I mean, I wasn't great at it, and I definitely just I wanted to learn so bad that I watched as many videos as I can, and I tried so hard to like kind of get good at KA quick. And with like limited track time, and I mean, I don't live like the closest to the track. I live like 2 hours away from track house, but um it's just we can't just take like a calm little 2 hour drive every day, every weekend or whatever. It's not bad, but you don't. My dad or mom doesn't want to drive 2 hours every weekend just to see me run laps. You know what I'm saying? So I just try my best to. I was really disciplined on myself, especially when I started doing my own kind of stuff in like August of 2023 when I got my own Tony Kart and was with Perry. I tried so hard and just like I really wanted to get better, and I just feel like that's what allowed me to kind of pick up easier. I mean, from when I started to now, I mean, it's a gradual learn. It's such a different. You can't rush like racecraft. You have to actually be at races. You can't like teach that from a screen. But I mean, I just wanted it really bad to get better. You know.
Wait, is there any truth to this on the KRP tryharding from Austin Olds on this one?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I feel like KRP kind of did help me a good bit. I probably have like close to like 1,500 hours on that game.
Wow.
So
What?
I play that game a lot,
That's
but
insane.
I think it's just I'm good at that game, so I just I just like playing it. I don't think it helps anymore. There's like only some things, like maybe learning a track. Austin.
That's insane. I mean, to be fair though, like I do feel like you kind of can show in terms of adapting and learning something the value in KRP, and certainly I mean that for me when I was learning how to drive KA when I like first moved up, so to speak, like I didn't use KRP, didn't use anything. And it was like, oh, it was it took a few months. So I'm curious, like, how much do you feel like you can take away from a KRP or something of that sort to kind of learn and get better?
If we're talking just KRP and just that game, not a lot. Not, I mean, there's very limited that you can learn from that game. I mean, especially if like you learn how to download mods and all this stuff. But I mean, there's only so much you can learn from a game, and like the creators of that game really just I don't really think they have a care for that game. So I don't think an updates came up for that game in about like 7 years or some crap. So I mean, there's only so much you can learn from it. I mean, I feel like it's kind of helped me a little bit over like everything, but it's just a fun game to play like overall. So I feel like the most thing that that game would kind of help me with is just like knowing what to do in situations. Like if you get in like a good pack on KRP, like and they're not trying to absolutely kill each other like every second, which is very hard to find, very hard. But it's kind of helpful to know what to do in situations like, and especially if you get on with buddies like that you can trust. If
Trust.
yeah, somewhat trust and like kind of just race good with them, you can kind of learn a good bit. But
Yeah.
there's only so much you can learn from a video game.
Yeah. I mean, it does kind of help with the fire drill situations that are KA racing sometimes. Or to, I mean, I've seen you were well out front of it this weekend, but there was still some pretty chaotic stuff going on. But one thing I want to kind of mention, we've kind of talked about how you've moved up and you went from exclusively 206 to getting your feet wet in the KA stuff. You came up on the end of your senior career. You kind of ran the last bit of that with Ryan Perry and with a Tony Kart. You moved up to senior like the very last race of 2023. And then you show up in 2024, you decide to go with BJR. What went into that decision and kind of what got you connected with Brandon?
Well, the whole deal was like my real first race that I ever did in 206, like or like just in general, my first real karting race was the WK Daytona, and that's when I totaled the kart and got like splatted out in the middle of the track, and I was like the red flag or whatever, and
Was that
I
like
did,
2018?
yeah, that was December 2018,
I think I
like
remember
December,
this.
yeah, and
Of course you do.
I never knew that was you.
really?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No,
That's
yeah, that was awful. What an awful experience. But
God.
we just every year it's been a tradition for especially my racing career to go back and race that race every single year. I I th- I think we've done it every year except for one, and I just love the track and it's just kind of special to me to race there. And there was 2023 when I was with Perry. Um, he didn't show up for Daytona, and we were just kind of on our own with JJ O'Neill and his dad, and we were just kind of like the showing with those RPM Tony karts, and I don't know, it just felt like at that time Brandon kind of had a hold on the class, and we were kind of battling with, Mason Walters was always in it at that time, especially at the club races, and we never really thought about changing because we were so early in our you know KA kind of racing. We were just kind of going at it, and my mom started talking to Brandon. We helped take down his tent that Daytona race, like after everything, and my mom started talking to him, and you know, uh, we just ended up getting a better deal with him, and that's really all it was. All we did was we got a better deal, and we decided to try something new. So, and it turned out in my best favor. I think if I didn't go to Brandon, I wouldn't have won Charlotte last weekend, and I don't think I'd be anywhere close to where I am right now without being on that team, especially with like Paulie and everybody, like and Austin Miles, James, everybody under that tent. There's not a single person on that tent that didn't help me in at every single race. I could really ask anyone, like you go up to anyone, talk to them. I mean, it's not something to be like scared of to talk to anybody under that tent because they're all so friendly and everything. I mean, they might tell you the harsh truth, but I mean, that's always the best.
Is this true?
Uh, mm, actually, it might be actually. I don't. It might. Yeah, I think it is.
Ember,
I
you
don't.
know about this, right? Because you were talking
Yeah.
about it in the green room, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a video out there of this guy's steering wheel coming off up the hill. I think it would have been Was it USPKS 2023?
Yeah, it was my first national.
Yeah, it was USPKS 2023. We have a segment later that I wanted to get that for, but I couldn't get it for because Jerry didn't have a picture of it, just a video. So yeah, no, that was
Well,
what.
we need the
qu-
story. I
yeah,
need I need
yeah. Tell us the story behind it first.
So basically, it never came to us. So you know the bolt that connects the steering wheel hub to the steering wheel column, and we
Yes.
never thought that like that would be a problem of not like taping it or something like that. We never heard of that, and like it just we didn't know. And all I remember is where I'm in the qualifying, I'm like, oh yeah, this is about to be a heater. I'm behind Mateo Pappas. I set myself perfect up. I'm about to get his draft, and I come out of turn 9. I'm going into turn 10, and I see the bolt drop down into my like next to my pants, like the suit, and I'm like, and I turn, and it's still going straight. And I hit the exit curb, and it just popped straight off. I have it in my hand, like, what? That's pretty much it. I mean, we didn't. The bolt just broke straight off, and we had no idea that would even happen.
That's not a fun experience for anybody who's actually had that happen. That's happened to me in a car. It is not a fun experience at all, especially if you go into a corner like turn 10. Well, what was the end
Yeah.
result? I haven't seen the video. Where did you end up?
Well, I for sure like once
wall,
steering wheel
probably.
popped off. Once the steering wheel popped off, I just slammed on the brakes, and I luckily avoided the wall. Actually, I somehow didn't hit him. I mean actually I somehow didn't hit the wall, but I was just spinning. I hit the curb, and it kind of just started spinning on its own. And I was just so confused. I had my left foot like stomped on the brakes. I'm just in that moment. I have no idea what just happened. I have why is the steering wheel in my hand? Like I don't. I was just so confused in that moment. I remember watching the GoPro footage I have in my hand. I look back and I see my dad. I'm like, what?
That's scary, but also
That's
like now that we know that
incredible.
nothing happened, it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny to laugh now.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
want
And- Go ahead.
I
Alex.
want to talk about your experience at Trackhouse at the club events in particular. I know me and Emery always talk about how we kind of fight over who has the stronger club scene, Trackhouse or Homestead, but
It's definitely Trackhouse.
It's Trackhouse.
Hey, look at who won this weekend. Count how many of them came from Trackhouse.
I gotta say, but it's always Homestead's like right there. Like it's always
Homestead,
right there.
Homestead's up there, no question. Homestead's got an amazing club scene, but it's not Trackhouse.
I mean, Homestead swept the cadets features at Supernats, mini and micro. So
this weekend,
no, Supernats.
This weekend, Jared won, dominated. Wesley Gunler, who actually came from
shout out Wesley Gunler, by the way.
Almost the same Briggs cadet field in like 2019, 2020. Won. Slate Harrell put on a show to win a micro. And many, I mean, you go every single class, there's somebody from Trackhouse in the top 3. Anyways, I rest my case. Alex has a better point to get to.
I just want to ask, how much do you think that has played into a factor of you being like the level of driver that you are today, having such a strong club scene that it almost allows you to save a little money and not run nationals so early?
Yeah, I mean, that club, it's not even a club at this point. I mean, especially in Briggs Senior and K Senior, it's just unreal how many people enter that thing, and it's just not even a club race at that point. Like it is a club race, but it just turns into such like it's almost more chaos than a national race that's just shoved into like one day or a double header 2 days. It's just there's so many people and so much like talent for just like a club race. I feel like especially in KA, like with everybody that just especially last year, not as much this year. Like I haven't run anything other than like X30 and Briggs this year, but in the KA field, especially last year, it helped me so much. Especially just being able to run and see what I can do against like these top drivers. Like especially James would come sometimes, like
and
especially near
Emery.
the end.
Hey, not last year. Last year was rough. 2 years ago, yes. We don't talk about last year, but
It's just it's such a it helps you learn so much. Especially with everybody that comes and just the competition levels. It's always so close, especially in KA. But I really think that's helped me out over the especially last year because I've just been able to go like almost every month and just kind of learn more and more each weekend. And so like where I am today, I mean, I still want to go back and I wish I could run every single club race just to like keep me like in check and like everything. It's just so it's like running a little national. It's not even it's I can't even say it's a club race. It's a little national because there's just so much talent in almost every class.
You should get with Brandon and run K heavy to go beat Emery.
Yeah, I'll talk to my dad about that.
put like
I wanna-
100 pounds of lead on the go kart.
It would have to be. I ran heavy one year, and it was like 90 pounds for me when I was maybe 120 soaking wet. So, I want to shift gears a little bit into this past weekend where you were dominant in a pretty strong K Stars field. I mean, you got quite a lot of talent. What do you think kind of made you finally get over that hump to get that KA win, and why do you think you were so dominant this weekend?
I just feel like I was so even before the weekend. I just never. I was obviously scared, and I had a lot of. I was. I love the track, and I was just so confident that I just never thought that I wouldn't be outside the top 5. I just love the track, and I finally got a new cart that was good enough to, you can only do so much with a clapped out cart, and especially a field like that. And I just with me in that track, I feel like I've always been really good at that track, and I just ever since like the practice 3 where I got my first time out on track, I just felt like it was my weekend, and I never thought that I wouldn't be able to do it, and I just went out there and did it every single time, and I was just so fast. I was comfortable. I was so comfortable. I was never. I was so comfortable with the cart and like everything about it. I was so comfortable, especially watching video. I mean, there was just it was such minor things the whole weekend. I was just so locked in on. I made minimal mistakes all weekend, and even though I still learned a lot from this weekend, especially battling with Hodgson, like it was such a learning experience battling with someone like that, and
I was
just
gonna say that second heat in particular, you were like with the Wolves for a majority of that race. I mean, did you take anything away from that one in particular where you kind of fell back early on and had to fight your way back forward?
the pre-final.
Or the pre-final, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I remember James telling me he's just telling me to calm down, and that I was really just like I was the fastest one, and I know I'm the fastest one by a good little bit, and I was just confident that I was, and I just that pre-final really showed me what I should do differently for the final, and I really take, especially now, if I mess up and say like a heat or a pre-final like that, I really take it in my responsibility and learn from it, and not try to be so stupid the next time. But I just I feel like going back a few spots on the start, and I was a little anxious at the start, and I got a little overexcited in that pre-final, and I made a few mistakes, but I came back from it, and just the fighting with everybody, it it definitely took away everything that I saved in my tires from the heats. But it was just such a learning experience battling with the top drivers like that. It really just showed me how differently kind of the front mid pack to the front, what how they race on like the top three. They all race so differently, and just trying to learn something like that is especially just learning someone like Hodgson, like trying to learn his driving style and try to understand how to beat someone like that. I mean, especially in the pre-final, I learned and I tried to understand each driver, and like I tried to just do my best to know everybody's weaknesses and what I could do to get past everyone that I felt threatened by a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like the pre-final taught me a good bit, and that's why I did so good in the final.
Yeah, and what's kind of been the biggest thing for you that you feel like the team has kind of played into that, right? You're obviously working with Brandon, Paulie. You talking about James. What's the biggest thing that you think they've taught you over your career?
Especially if I'm in the front. If I'm in the front, the biggest thing they probably taught me is to calm down. I feel, especially with me and a few other drivers, like I feel like a few other drivers could relate to this. When I get out in front, I get really nervous and I feel like I have to stay out there. But it's not the case at all. Actually, it's you have to be calm and collected, and you kind of have to understand your position, and you just have to be smart. That's you have to know the people around you, and you just have to be smart. That's really all they told me is just to think.
Yeah,
Simple
that's
as that.
exactly. It's a good point that Riley made here in the comments of we actually interviewed Brandon during your pre-final, and he said that exact thing of like he just needs to calm down, he just needs to relax, and I think that comes with reps, right? Like that comes with just being up front a lot, which is I think we're gonna expect that from you now, right? From the pace that you showed, you're gonna be a perennial front runner in KA, and I think you've learned it. You've just submitted to it, right? It's just learning to calm down. The biggest thing that when I'm coaching, especially with drivers that are starting to get quick and they're starting to have more laps up front, it's always teaching them that the race is going to come back to you if you're fast enough, right? And that's what you just explained. It doesn't matter what class you're in. I think it's a pretty big misunderstanding that I see from a lot of drivers of like, oh, it's only in the X30 and the shifter classes or the OKN classes where the race comes back to you. It comes back to you no matter what class you're in, right? Like obviously tire wear is a bigger factor, as you get into the higher end classes, but no matter what, if the setup's good, if you're good, the race is going to come to you. And I think we saw in the pre-final, it's just one of those things, right? You still ended up winning, but it was one of those situations where you fell back, you got into it with a couple of drivers, and in the final, I saw a completely different driver, right, from the pre-final to the final. The same situation happened where you had to kind of race your way through slightly, but you did it in a much more tactical way, and it ended up working out for you. So that to me is a really good point on your end.
Yeah, and not only that too, one thing that I felt like I noticed from watching the final is like Hodgson very clearly had the message, had the thought of don't let you get away, basically. Like anything that any pass that you're gonna try to make, he's gonna go right back in. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of times drivers get that sort of approach, and their reaction is to kind of overcorrect in a sense. They either start white lining, going crazy, so to speak. And I mean, I know like from experience that when you get in that situation on both ends, right? Either if you're leading, you're the fastest kart, or you're the one that's kind of trying to deploy that strategy. It's easy to get flustered. So like, I guess talk me through what went through your mind in the first 10 laps of that final where, you'd make a pass, Hodgson would pass right back, you'd try to pass, same thing would kind of happen. I mean, what allowed you to get through that and sort of stay composed and not throw your race away or risk anything worse than what happened?
That whole final, like especially racing with Hodgson, I fell back at the start, and every time I'd pass him, he'd pass me right back. I knew he didn't want me to get away, and I know I had the speed to, and I obviously showed that throughout the whole final. And I I kept it cool and I let him do what he wanted to do. And I I just made it clear that I was the fastest one, and I let him do what he wanted. I didn't want to block. I didn't want to like stack up the whole field and make them go at it, and hopefully I could pull away from then, because that's what a lot of drivers do. They like to, when they get out in front, they like to block and stack up the whole field. And that's what some drivers are taught. They're taught to like block when they get out in front and then try to pull away when everybody starts fighting. And yeah, sure, that works sometimes, but I mean, I just felt like there was no need for blocking. I only blocked one corner after I passed him for like the 6th time, because I was like, okay, this is kind of burning up my tires. I don't want to do this anymore. So that after I blocked one time, I got like maybe 3 clear corners and I was gone. And I really didn't want to block and, show that that's kind of how the person that I am, because it's really not. I like to battle cleanly, and I don't want to just be out there to, block the whole race and just stay in first because I'm blocking the whole race. No, I wanna be out there, and I wanna prove that I'm the fastest one, and that, I felt like I had the racecraft in that final to just do it. And especially the first half of the final, I did what I just let him do what he wants, and I the whole thing, it was just in my mind. I knew he didn't want me to get away, and I was gonna let him think that I was just gonna, at the first few laps, I just wasn't blocking, and I would just let him think that I'm not going to do it. And the one time that I did it, I got away. So it worked out the best, and it went perfectly to plan. And I mean, in my mind, that final couldn't have gone any more perfect in my favor.
Listen, for whatever fans you didn't get after your interview, you just got with that answer. Because what you just said is kind of, I feel like a lot of drivers who race in KA or people who are watching the race sometimes get frustrated with. Because I feel like no matter what, KA senior or the KA class, junior, senior, we've talked about it over the last year or two, since it's really kind of blown up in terms of how much blocking we see. So, what do you think? I want to hear from a driver's perspective. We've had a couple of drivers this who join our show, especially if they're in the KA. What like kind of the solution is, because you're on the side of there's really no need to block all that much, especially as an offensive move, right? Blocking should be used as, like you said, you made the pass, you defend the next corner. That makes sense. But like you mentioned, oftentimes, a lot of times, I see drivers go to the lead and they block for 15 laps because they know that you're either going to have to cross them up or you're going to have to move them and get a pushback. So then your race is over. So, like, what do you think as a driver is a solution to that? And yeah, is there a way to kind of avoid so much defending in a KA class?
With everyone that, does that, and there's just so many people that do that. When you're in a front pack and everybody's expected to do that, they're going to do it. And there's really nothing you can do about it when someone starts doing it, because other people are just going to follow them. Because when one person starts to do it, okay, fine. But if 2 or more people starts to do it, that means you basically have to do it, or you're just going to get passed. So me in that race setting kind of the role to not, I just felt like that's what made it a good race. And me racing with Hodgson, it felt like he was smart enough and he just knew what to do and what not to do. And that's what made it such a clean race. And I, when people start doing that, there's really nothing you can do about it, especially a race like Miami Grands. When everybody was doing that, you really just had to either send it around the outside or just kind of block for your position, and you really just can't do anything about it unless you're the one to be like me last race setting like the role.
Yeah, I mean, that Miami Grands race is the perfect, really, Miami Grands and USPKS Dowsman and a couple other races from last year, I feel like where it really reached its peak, where it's like, if you're in a train, really the 2 people at the front of a group or at the front of a race control the dynamic of the race. because if they choose to kind of engage in kind of a back and forth passing with limited white lining, I think you end up with a civil race where even if there's a lot of shuffling and a lot of like back and forth, you're not going to get a whole lot of like over the top white lining and crashing. I feel like this past final was the perfect example of that. Like you raced Hodgson clean, you passed him back and forth a lot. He raced you clean. He didn't try to do any sort of crazy maneuvering, which honestly I feel like worked out to his favor pretty well because even though you guys were passing, you never lost too much time to the group behind you. And so it was effective in stringing out the field. And yeah, over the course of a 25 lap race, he lost his chance to beat you for the race win. But it kind of minimized like the downside for him. Now, granted, you got a penalty for jumping the start, I think it was. But still, like instead of having a chance, like a 5% chance at the win and a potential to finish down in 12th, it made it into a first and second place race. And as much as on this show, and I doubt that you're as aware of it, but I've talked a lot of stuff about Charlotte as a track and its raceability because I think that it quite honestly is maybe not the best suited for high power classes. I think that KA race was really refreshing for me to see because even though from our perspective it was kind of a dominant performance by the end of the race, and certainly over the course of the weekend, to see a race like that where it didn't turn into a white line fest and there wasn't a whole lot of crashing, it was very refreshing. And I appreciate the take that you have on kind of white lining in general, because we've talked to a lot of people. We've seen a lot of kind of the younger drivers come up through the class, and when the guys are up at the front or white lining, when they're committing to blocking like that, it just makes for a messy product. And really, I mean, this weekend showed you can not block, you can not like kind of shoot yourself in the foot and still walk away with a race win, even when someone's trying to pass you, trying to make your life difficult. So mature drive, and I'm sure like even beyond you, even beyond the BJR guys, like it was a clinic on how to do proper racecraft, in my opinion.